Earlier, we mentioned there's a growing number of lawmakers who are backing an effort to impeach President Trump for his part leading up to the Capitol riots.
Some members of Congress accuse the president of inciting violence in his speech to protesters before the unrest started. A House resolution to impeach the president for high crimes and misdemeanors is expected to reach the floor tomorrow. So tonight, Michael Gerhardt is joining us to talk about the impeachment process. He is a distinguished professor of jurisprudence at UNC Chapel Hill, specializes on the rule of law and constitution law. He's also testified before Congress more than 20 times.
Professor, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
There's been a lot of chatter about more articles of impeachment against President Trump. You were the only joint witness during the Clinton impeachment proceedings in the House in 1998, and you were a part of the Trump impeachment proceedings as a constitutional scholar. In your opinion, is there a legal backing for a trial to begin? And if there is there enough time to get a result with the inauguration around the corner?
I think there's certainly justification for having an impeachment move forward. The House of Representatives shouldn't need more than a day or two to settle on an impeachment resolution. Keep in mind that whatever the focus of that resolution is, it is stuff that we've all just seen on television. Most of the facts, most of the evidence is out there for everyone to see. The tougher thing is to expect the impeachment trial to happen soon or even end soon. Mitch McConnell, currently the majority leader, has basically indicated, look, I'm not going to call the Senate back into session anytime before the inauguration, and he's not even going to consider starting a trial until then. But come January 20th, it's a new majority, and the new majority leader, Chuck Schumer, I'm sure, will receive the articles of impeachment and proceed with a trial.
All right, well, Professor, Speaker Nancy Pelosi now says the House will move forward on Monday with a non-binding resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. So can you, and she's also calling on the Vice President to respond within 24 hours. So can you please explain the 25th Amendment and how it would work?
Sure. The 25th Amendment provides two different mechanisms for temporarily suspending a president from office. One mechanism is something the president can do himself. He can he writes a letter, he submits it to the cabinet and Congress, and it basically says, I'm going to be temporarily disabled. This has happened twice. It involved presidents who went into surgery, and obviously in surgery went under anesthesia. But once they're out, they sign a letter saying basically, I'm back and I don't need to be suspended anymore. The second option is the one that Nancy Pelosi is pressing right now. It begins with the vice president and a majority of the cabinet who sign a letter that says that they need to suspend the president temporarily from office, and they'll give their reasons saying why they think he's no longer capable of exercising his duties, at least for the foreseeable future. That same part of the amendment allows, actually requires the president to respond. And if the president responds saying, look, I'm capable, I still can remain in office, then the dispute between the two sides, so to speak, goes to Congress, and Congress has to wrestle over it. So either way, we end up in Congress, which will either impeach or approve the suspension of the president.
Let's go back to the impeachment for a moment, Professor. Could the trial take place after President Trump is out of office?
I don't think all constitutional scholars would agree on the answer. I happen to be of the view that the trial could proceed even after the president leaves office. We've had 2 or 3 instances in American history when officials have resigned, but the Senate has still held a trial. Those people were acquitted in part because some members of the Senate felt they no longer needed to do anything because the official had resigned. Well, the same question is going to come back to the Senate, I think, under Majority Leader Schumer, and that's whether or not a trial may proceed. And it makes sense because the only remedy that's available to deal with whatever misconduct the president has currently engaged in is to disqualify him from ever being in office again. That's a remedy in the Constitution which may be imposed through the impeachment process.
And Professor, we are running short on time, but just really quickly, with this inauguration happening in 10 days from today, how likely is it that any changes in presidential leadership would actually occur?
I don't think it's likely to occur except when Trump leaves office and, of course, Joe Biden becomes president. I think the Senate, which would have to make the final decisions on this, seems completely incapable because of what Mitch McConnell has said of doing anything before January 20th.
Professor Michael Gerhardt, thank you so much.
Thank you.